Rob.
Tony. And I'm Jeff.
We're in gaming.
And that's you.
Hello gamers and welcome back to the end. I'm Rob, of course, or Warshak if you want to call me by my in-game name. And today we're going to be going over the last bit of the Whispers of the Old Gods cards that were revealed yesterday in the stream. Because there was so many cards revealed, we're going to actually probably break this into parts. So there'll probably be a part 7 and a part 8. Even though I'm doing this all at one time, I'm just going to need a break. So it's definitely going to be, I'm going to plan for like 30 minutes per segment. Just because of the quantity of cards that were revealed. Holy crap. Marshall's joining me instead of Tony. Marshall, would you like to make your... There we go. Marshall's going to be joining us. All right. So, first, off the bat, we've got Forbidden Ancient. He's a 1-drop, 1/1 battle cry. Spend all of your mana, gain 1/1 for each mana spent. So... this is very similar to the Priest card that we saw that kind of summons a creature with your leftover mana, and this is also very similar to the Mage spell, which deals damage based on how much mana you have left over. So it was just a matter of time before we saw a card that gains stats based on the amount of mana you have left over, how much you want to, allocate towards this guy, because obviously, let's say it's turn 10, you want to develop a 4-drop, and then you play this guy for 6, or you have 6 mana when you play this guy, and then he turns into a 6/6. Also, keep in mind, he works, spend all your mana, gain 1/1 for each mana spent. That doesn't mean on your turn, which I've seen a lot of people get confused with. This is how much you spend on this particular guy. So if you have 6 mana left over, he's a 6/6. On turn 1, though, he is a 1/1. So if you play him, he costs 1 mana, and it says Battle Cry, spend the rest of your mana. If you don't have any rest, if you only have 1 mana, there's nothing else to spend, therefore he remains a 1/1. But on turn 2, he's a 2/2. That makes sense. So on turn 1, don't think you're getting 2/2. He's still a 1/1 there. Pretty decent card in my opinion. Definitely fills out the curve quite nicely. He doesn't actually have any other ability besides this Battle Cry. So Silence really shuts him down. He doesn't have Taunt, and he doesn't have like some sort of archetype. So decent card in my opinion. Not the best, but it's still good. Heading into another, by the way guys, this is segmented off in class specific, so I think we're Druid, and then whatever class comes next, I don't even know yet, and then we'll end with neutrals. So these are also all like class specific cards, and then we'll, go from class to class until we're done. All right, so next card is Addled Grizzly. Sorry, text is really small for me on my side. And he's a 3-drop, 2/2. After you summon a minion, give it 1/1. And it also says summon, not played, so this counts for any sort of tokens you play, like Force of Nature and stuff like that. Seems semi-interesting. His stats aren't good. He's a beast, so I'm assuming some beast synergy in here. The fact it's a 3-drop, 2/2, so I mean, he dies to some 1-drops. He dies to almost every 2-drop, and he's definitely going to die to a 3-drop. And maybe if he was a 3/2 for 3 or a 2/3 for 3, he would make sense. But 2/2 for 3, that's a hefty price to pay, but his ability is decent. So I'm sure he'll see play, but he could in fact be a little bit better. And the fact that, they keep pushing out the Druid Beast cards, I wonder what direction they're hoping Druids will go into. Tony's talking over in the corner. 1 Druid Beast card. What are you talking about? Oh god, we keep clicking on cards. Stop. What?
This is the only Druid Beast card they announced for this set.
So
for Druids, yeah.
What did what are you talking about? They put in a spell too. It said give a card 2/2 if it's a beast, draw a card.
But there's not a lot of good neutral beast for that to get.
No, I'm just saying they're pushing beasts for the Druid class.
But they didn't make enough beasts, is what I'm saying. Well, this is the only beast they made for Druid.
Yes.
And a beast card.
Okay, but they still are pushing beast synergies. That's what they want. Beast Druid pushing. Exactly.
Just like
they want.
Druid.
Exactly.
Because that's what Beast Druid really needed. Just 2 cards. That's all they actually needed.
That's right. They needed Addled Grizzly. Tony, why aren't you in this video, huh? You gonna explain to the viewers why you're not in this video? That's what I fucking thought. You stay over there and study. I just answered why he's not in this video. He said he needs to study for this test. He's been studying for a test for like 3 weeks now. I don't even know what test he's... Oh, this is calc. Okay, anyway, back to the review, guys. You don't care about that. All right, next card. Fangdrill Straghelm. Hopefully I didn't... I'm going to butcher these names, by the way, without Tony here. So I'm going to do my best. What matters is what we have to say about the cards. He's a 4-drop, 3/5, and his ability is... Your choose 1 cards, which is, very popular among the Druid cards, having 2 sorts of ability to use amongst their cards. Your cards have both effects combined. So basically, when you play a card that says, you know, transform this into this, or play this card and you have one or two of these abilities, you'll actually get both, which is really, really, really cool. In fact, and a matter of fact, there was a guy on Reddit who kind of guessed what the Druid Legendary would be, and he actually got this guy exactly, like to the point. And he linked it in, and he saw it was posted like 6-7 days prior before the release of the actual card, or the release of this card yesterday, the announcement of this card yesterday. So that was really cool that someone was able to call this out and kind of foresee that. But yeah, definitely a staple in my opinion that's going to be in the Druid class. The fact that, you know, also Ben had announced that. Like, let's say you play Druid of the Claw. You remember how you could, not remember, but you know how you have the ability to make it a 4/6 with Taunt or a 4/4 with Charge. If this guy's on the field and you pick, well, it doesn't matter which ability you pick, it's actually going to have a third form now, and it's not going to be either of the 4/6 ability or 4/6 forms of the 4/4 form. It's going to have a new sort of name and ability. Or a new look, I should say, not ability. But anyway, it's going to be a 4/6 with Charge, and it's going to, you know, look completely different than the pictures they already have. What? Anton, yes, Anton. Thanks, Tony. Oh, they can't hear you because, you know, you're not on the fucking video. So yeah, definitely cool stuff with that, and I'm not exactly sure how the spells are gonna work. Like let's say you're playing Keeper of the Grove, and you pick the silence on a particular card. Does it also the 2 damage gonna come on that same card after you silence, or is it like you can silence one card and then you're able to pick what the second ability is on maybe a different card? So I'm not actually how the interaction is gonna work yet, as this is, you know, the expansion is not out yet, and I'm not familiar with everything that's, you know, how the interactions are going to work, but I can only assume it's going to be like the same creature that you're going to target with both sort of abilities based on what they've done in the past with Brand Bronzebeard and stuff like that. Let's say if you silence a card, it silences the same card twice. You don't actually get to pick, as that'd be pretty confusing to new players. All right, looking at the last Druid card, I believe, and that's Feral Rage. It's a 3-drop, choose one. So if you've got the prior card, I don't even want to try to remember his name yet. It's choose one, give your hero +4 attack this turn, or gain 8 armor. So the 8 armor is kind of like Healing Touch, but you can't heal a creature with this, or can't give a creature armor as you can with Healing Touch. So that's the difference here. But with this card, you actually have the ability to gain +4 attack, which is pretty nice for 3 mana. I think it's a decent card. I like the 8 armor. I like the give or take either. So instead of Healing Touch, you could actually run this and maybe a mid-range Druid or a ramp Druid, and I don't see a problem with it. Picture's pretty cool. Yeah. So heading to the Hunter class, we have a 4-drop, 3/3 Death Rattle, summon 2 1/1 spiders. By the way, the spiders, Tony, did you clarify that the spiders are beasts? Okay, so the spiders that come out of this, unlike the Haunted Creeper, when that died, the spiders out of that were not beasts. But an Infested Wolf, these things are beasts. That's pretty cool. And so it's basically a buffed up Haunted Creeper. I think it's a really, really strong card. Trades with most, it definitely trades with 1, trades with 2. Most of the time we'll trade with 3 unless it's like a spider tank, but that's leaving us anyway. So it definitely trades up, and it also pops out the 2/1 spiders. So basically for 4 mana, you're getting a 5/5. And the spiders, again, come out as beasts, which is pretty cool. And it seems like they're pushing the, the Death Rattle Hunter. So it's definitely going to be kind of a unique class, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of it. Heading to the next card on the hunt, it's a 1-drop. Deal 1 damage, summon a 1/1 Mastiff. So originally, when I read this, I thought the Mastiff had charge, just like Dog did in his review, but the Mastiff actually does not have charge. It's just a 1/1 beast. So in my opinion, this card is not that great, as it is pretty good to be able to ping off those creatures with 1 HP. As we know, the Hunter passive only does 2 damage to their face and doesn't have the ability to kind of clear up the field. I do not think that's a reason to play this card. If the summon, the 1/1 Mastiff, if that card had charge, this card would be definitely really, really good, and I would probably play 2 of in maybe my mid-range Hunter deck, because Death Rattle Hunter, guys, or Control Hunter, it doesn't have the passive to do it. I mean, we'll see what happens. Murgleton's here for a reason, so maybe we can get like a warrior passive on the Hunter, and we can have Control Hunter / armor. Well, what would it be called, Tony? Control Hunter, Fatigue, Death Rattle, Stall. There we go. Brand new to the meta, folks. All right, so heading into our next card, we have a 3-drop Karen Grub, and it's a 2/5. It counts as a beast. And as Ben said in his live stream, it's going to have a really cool flavor test. It's actually going to be Carry On My Wayward Grub or some shit like that. And then everybody was kind of silent after that because it was yeah. Anyway. Fiery Bat, a 1-drop, 2/1, Death Rattle, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. Really, really good. This card is in response to Fire Bat. That was the first world champion in Hearthstone, and that happened, I believe, last year. So this card was kind of named after him because he played Hunter, or I should say face Hunter, I believe, in his last match, in his winning match as the world champ. So they actually made this card, like I mentioned. Pretty good, in my opinion. It's a 1-drop, 2/1s. The stats are there. Trades up to most 2-drops, and it's Death Rattle, which, it seems to be a very Hunter... a Death Rattle seems to be a very common thing we're seeing in this Hunter expansion, or not Hunter expansion, but the most recent expansion. Deal 1 damage to enemy minion, which allows you to basically sometimes even trade after its death, which is really, really nice. And again, counts as a beast. Pretty good. Pretty good, I mean really good. All right, heading into the mage cards, we've got Shatter. It's a 2-drop, destroy a frozen minion. In our last review, I believe we went over the card. I don't remember its name, but it's a 4-drop, 2/4, and it says whenever you cast a spell, freeze a random enemy, whether it be their face or a creature. So they're trying to throw synergies in there with mage and freezing and killing them, but I really don't see it. I mean, this card does look good on paper. Destroy a frozen enemy minion. So it's whether you Frost Nova or you Blizzard or you Ice Lance it. But the whole point, let's say if you freeze your opponent's board, you don't really have to take care of the creatures because if you're playing Freeze Mage, the following turn you're going to Flame Strike it anyway. So like using 2 mana and a card to kill a card that's just going to die the following turn, it doesn't seem that great. And along with that, killing the cards in some situations isn't always the best thing because most of the time maybe you can Frost Nova Doomsayer, so the card's going to die anyway. There's just a lot of other cards you could play in replace of this. Not to say this card isn't going to be played. I'm sure it'll fit in some mage decks that are going to pop up with these new cards. As I can't, look into the future and let you know all the new decks that are going to come from all the new cards we're getting in standard mode coming in here. But I can tell you, it doesn't look that great right now, and I don't think it's going to fit into every mage deck, like some cards, like Frostbolt and like Fireball. But it's definitely a card that I seeing play. It's not terrible, but it's not as good as people may think off the bat. Looking at the Mage Legendary, which was quite disappointing to me and to Tony when I talked to him about it. He's an 8-drop, 8/6 Death Rattle, deal 8 damage to all minions. Again, I'm not even going to try to say his name. Tony, do you remember it off the top of your head? Anomalous, there you go. It seems some cards, obviously Blizzard can't go ahead and make every card really good and crazy and have an ability that fits into every deck because then, we'll get in the same situation as when we're at now with Dr. Boom, Piloted Shredder, cards like that. But at the same time, giving class-specific cards shitty-ass abilities that, in my opinion, I don't see where this is going to fit into a mage deck. Death Rattle, deal 8 damage to all minions. I suppose it's a field clear inside of a creature, but not only are you playing this for 8 mana, it's a Death Rattle, which means you don't really get to target it or use its ability when you want to. It's basically bent on your opponent when you end your turn, whether they're going to kill it or not. So let's say it just gets CC'd by like a Polymorph or a Hex or something like that. Then you wasted 8 mana on nothing, which you could say for a lot of bigger cards, but you don't get most cards that have 8+ mana to cast it, they get some immediate they get an immediate ability out of it. So whether it's Ysera at the end of your turn, you get that extra dream card, Ragnaros that you're able to deal 8 damage to something on your opponent's side of the field, or even Alexstrasza where you can go ahead and bring your health up to 15, or you can reduce your opponent's down to 15. I should more say set an opponent's health to 15, but most of the time you're not reducing yours, you're mostly reducing your opponent's. But anyway, it just seems not that great in my opinion for a class-specific legendary. And as we know, each expansion only gets 1 legendary per class. There's a lot of neutral legendaries, but only 1 per class, and this just doesn't give me that warm and cuddly, guys. All right, so heading into, I believe, our last mage card. How long are we on time? We're at 15 minutes, so we got another 10 to 15 before we'll end this little part. It's a 2-drop, 3/2, and it's spell damage +1. After you cast a spell, give your Cthun +1 wherever he is. Stats for a 2-drop, 3/2, you can't really complain with the stats. The +1 spell damage, a lot of people think that spell damage, actually, Yeah, it matters. I was going to say it doesn't matter a ton this early on in the game, but I mean, it's a card that you can play even later on, and it'll help you out a lot. So I think the plus spell damage is decent. It gives you, like if this card didn't have the plus one spell damage, and it was just after you cast a spell, give your Cthun +1/+1, I would say you'd probably play some other cards over this card, but the fact it does the +1 spell damage, and, you know, it gives your Cthun +1/+1 after you cast a spell, I think it's solid. I'm sure it'll see play in Cthulhu decks, and its stats are good. Like, you can't complain. If the stats were a 2-3, I would probably be even more excited about it. But 3-2, you can't really complain with that, to be honest. So, all right. So, hold on. I need a drink. Oh God, my voice is killing me. All right. So we got a light in the darkness. People being saved by a yellow bubble. By a bunch of tentacle porn. All right, so 2-drop. Discover a minion. Not specific, so it's just, I'm assuming it's class specific, right, Tony? If it just says discover a minion, it would be for the paladin class, or it's just discover a minion.
Paladin specific and then neutral.
Okay, gotcha. So paladin specific and neutral. I should probably have known that. 2-drop. Discover a minion. Give it +1/+1. So you have the option of 3 minions, and then whatever you pick gets +1/+1. It doesn't reduce it, so it's not quite an unstable portal, as unstable portal doesn't really, you don't get to pick from it. Seems decent, you know? Seems like a good maybe card to pick in arena to fill in maybe a curve or that empty mana you have left over from using it. But for ranked play, I really don't see it being that great. For the most part, paladins, they gain initiative very early on by playing very high impact creatures. Giving them Divine Shield, making them hard to remove, and they continue that snowball up until turn 6, 7, and then they win from there. But I don't think this card kind of fits that kind of profile that they're heading in. But in fact, it's a cool card, and I'm sure it'll see play, but not that great off the bat, and I can't really think of anything to really add to that. All right, so we've got Selfless Hero, a 1-drop. 2-1 in stats, Death Rattle, give a random friendly minion Divine Shield. In my opinion, this card is really fucking good. There's a lot of cards that they've released so far that kind of, they gain benefit from you having cards with Divine Shield, which we haven't gotten into the weapon yet, but I think it's the next card. And it says for every Divine, give all your creatures on the field with Divine Shield, I think +1/+1, but we'll get into that when we get to it. But Divine Shield, in a nutshell, is a really powerful mechanic because you're able to trade with other creatures without your creatures actually taking any damage. So you're able to, like, let's say you're 5/5 Loatheb, attacks their 5/5 Loatheb, and yours has Divine Shield, yours lives, and you don't even take any damage, and you've killed their 5/5. That's a huge tempo play. So just giving out Divine Shield like this, and it's a 2-1 for a 1-drop, like the stats are good, and its ability grants Divine Shield, which allows you to trade up. So I think this is a really, really powerful card, and I think it will definitely see play. And maybe some people underrate it, but in my opinion, this card is really, really powerful, really good. All right. Whoa, did I skip a card? I did. What am I doing here? There we go. So Rallying Blade is the card I was just talking about. It's a 3-drop, 3/2 Battlecry. Give 1/+1/+1 to your minions with Divine Shield. We also covered a Paladin card in the past. It was a 3-drop, 3/3, and it said whenever you summon a 1-drop, give it Divine Shield, I believe was the text on that card. It said summon, not play, which means it works with your hero power, which at the time I kind of misunderstood the card and didn't realize your hero power works with that as well. So definitely Rallying Blade for a 3-mana, 3/2. You can't really complain. It's no Fiery War Axe, but what is? That card is completely broken. So this is kind of, as close as it can get. A 3-mana, 3/2. So the weapon, essentially the stats are good. And the Battle Cry could, in fact, make your field pretty strong. And if it hits at least 1 to 2 creatures, you're getting value out of it. So I'm sure we'll see it play. I'm sure we'll see it getting played, but I'm not sure how much. Because, making sure it lands on creatures with Divine Shield is the hard part. But yeah, there's also a lot of new cards coming out that deal 1 damage to everything on the board, which is kind of a combatant to paladins and their ability to give things Divine Shield. So we'll see how far that gets, but from here, looks pretty good. It's really not that bad in comparison to some of the other cards we've seen. All right, let's go to the next card here. Divine Strength. This is a 1-drop, give a minion 1/2. As we know, paladins and priests are very, very known for having cards that buff their minions, whether it be Blessings of the Kings, Velen's Chosen, Power Ward Shield, all that good stuff. So this kind of just goes hand in hand with a cheaper buff, because at the moment I do not think Paladins have, besides maybe Blessings of Might and another one that gives Divine Shield. But this is goes along with their buffs. So you're basically, for 1 mana, you summon a 1/2. So not that bad, not that great. Kind of just goes along with what their class already does. All right, so heading into Priest, we have a Darkshire Alchemist. It's a 5-drop, 4/5, so the stats are pretty good. And it's Battlecry Restore 5 health. So as we saw, if you watch the live stream at all, he comboed this with Bran, and you actually can heal 10 with the Battlecry for 5 mana. I think kind of replacing that heal bot factor, because it is a 5-drop. So instead of it being a 3/3, it's a 4/5, which is pretty good in my opinion. So you heal for 3 less, but you technically gain +1 attack and +2 HP. So I think it's a fair trade-off. I think it's a really strong card. The fact that it's a common, we will see a lot of it in Arena. What? You can aim it, like Tony mentioned. You can't see him because he's not in the fucking video. Again, Tony, you know, how you doing over there? And yeah, the fact that you can pick what gets Restore 5 health. So what if you have the Soul Priest out, right? So the Soul Priest, Battlecry, deal 5 damage to target creature. But it is a Battlecry. It says Battlecry, Restore 5 health. So if you Soul Priest... Oh, yeah, so I'm saying if you have Soul Priest out and you target this Battlecry to something, I'm assuming it'll do 5 damage. So that's really, really powerful. That's good stuff right there. I like it. Strong card. All right, so we got Hooded Acolyte. It's a 4-drop, 3/6, so the stats are okay. Whenever a character is healed, give your Cthun +1/+1. This is a card I'm sure we've kind of imagined, the whole healing and giving your Cthun +1/+1. We've seen in the past with Northshire Cleric, the 1-drop 1/3. Whenever a character is healed, or whenever a minion's healed, you actually draw a card, which I think is a little bit stronger than giving your Cthun a +1/+1. But if you're playing Cthun Priest, you want to be able to give your Cthun as much power as possible before you play him. So this is definitely a good way to go about that. So some huge plays I can only assume are Hood Acolyte, Northshire Cleric, you have your Wild Pyromancer on the field, you know, you Power World Shield something, it damages everything on the board, and then you Healing Circle, you draw a bunch of cards, your Cthun gets like +6/+6, or something maybe even crazier than that, depending on how full the board is. So definitely some crazy things I'm picturing with this guy. Again, the stats really aren't that bad. Marshall, what are you doing walking around, son? Sit your ass down, boy. That's my body. You want to say hi again? How you doing? All right. So, all right, Power World Tentacles. I'm sure there'll be a lot of funny Twitch comments about this card when someone plays it. It's a 5-drop, give a minion +2/+6. It kind of costs 2 more mana than, as we know, the Velen's Chosen at the moment. It has much better name, in my opinion, than a Velen's Chosen. Velen's Chosen gave +2/+4 and +1 spell power. This gives +2/+6. No spell power, costs 2 more. So I don't think it's actually as good as Velen's Chosen, because in my opinion, Velen's Chosen was really, really powerful. For only 3 mana, you basically got a 2/4 +1 spell damage. And yeah, so I think it's decent. I'm not really sure if it'll see play. It kind of would make sense to maybe see it in that, what is it called, Divine Spirit deck with Inner Fire. The 2/6 follows that kind of a lot of health, switch it, and then swing face for the Wombo combo. But either way, seems like a decent card. All right, Twilight Dark Mentor. Yes, Mender. Yes, Twilight Dark Mender. Okay. 5-drop, 6/5. So the stats are solid in my opinion. A 6/5 for 5 is good. And then its battle cry is if your Cthun has at least 10 attack, restore 10 health to your heroes. So this is very, very similar to, as we've seen, I don't remember, it's like Ancient Shield Bearer. It's a warrior card, and it says if your Cthun has more than 10 attack, gain 10 armor. So this kind of goes along with the same trait as that. But the bearer is a 7-drop 6/6, and this is actually a 5-drop 6/5, so you can actually play this 2 turns prior, and it still trades with the 7-drop warrior card. The difference, in my opinion, between these two is the fact that this heals your hero for 10, while the armor, you can be at 30 health and gain 10 armor, as if you're at 30 health and you play this card, you don't gain any health. So essentially you want to play this when you're anywhere between 20 or lower. Of course, playing it at, when you're at 23, 24, 25, it's still okay. You just don't get the full benefit. But with the shield bearer, you're always going to get that 10 armor every time you play it. Doesn't matter which HP you're at, the armor always stacks. So I think that's why the stats are kind of higher on this than the other one. All right, so we're heading into, where are we at? We're at 26 minutes, so we'll cover Rogue, and then we'll end this episode here, and then we'll go on to part, I believe, 8 it would be, and we'll finish up with the neutrals and whatever classes are still left. So we've got a 9-drop, 4/4 Blade of Cthun. I actually saw this guy played like 5 times in the live stream, and his battle cry is, destroy a minion, add its attack and health to Cthulhu's. That's really, really good, in my opinion. Because as we know, Rogue, for the most part, their removal is very expensive. You look at Assassinate, I believe it's 5 mana, destroy a creature, which is really not that bad. But the only problem is it doesn't transform it like a mage does, or a mage polymorph does. So you actually pay 1 mana, it doesn't transform it, so if it has a death rattle, it's going to be able to get that effect. So that's not so nice. And so this kind of follows the same thing. So it's basically Assassinate. If we calculate that as 5 mana, then there's 4 left over. So you're basically playing 4/4 for 4 that could kill something. Battle Cry, it triggering twice with bronze or brand doesn't really matter. Seems decent. I can imagine this maybe costing 8 mana. That would be a little bit better. 9 mana is a hefty price to pay because if it doesn't get discounted, you most of the time can't even play a 2-drop to follow up. You can't even use their passive to follow up. This is like you play this 4/4, you kill 1 creature, and that's basically your turn. So I think it's a hefty price to pay. It has a cool ability, so I'm not really sure how much it'll get played. It seems okay though. So yeah. All right, so we have a 1-drop, 1/2 combo, gain 1+1. So technically, if you have coin and you're going second, you can coin, play Bladed Cultist, and play another Bladed Cultist. So you actually get 2 2/3s on turn 2, or your turn 1. But since you didn't actually go first because you have the coin. But either way, pretty strong play. Rogues didn't really have any turn 1 plays, to be honest. So this kind of fills that turn 1 gap. Seems decent. I mean, it also works as a combo piece, if you don't have any other 1-drops in your hand. And also we know that the rogues are getting quite a few cheap spells to use with these new poisons, with the new Rogue Legendary coming out, which we did see a little bit of play in the live stream. So really filled a gap that wasn't there. And they can't really make a 1-drop better than... I mean, they can make a 1-drop better than this. They can make like fucking Tunnel Trog or Mana Worm, where literally how much value you can get out of the card is there's not a cap on it. You can just keep getting attack and attack and attack until you shit on someone so hard. But anyway, for some reason I didn't know what the fuck I was saying there. But anyway, yeah. So they kind of capped, by combo gain 1/1+1. This card can't get out of hand, unlike Mana Worm and Tunnel Trog, which is I think a good thing. So they need to go back and take a greater look at Tunnel Trog and all that shit. There should be no reason a 1-drop should be able to trade into a 5-drop. I've said that many of times on our videos, but anyway. Okay, so we got a 1-drop, Journey Below, discover a Death Rattle card. Really, really good in my opinion. We've seen a lot of Death Rattle, we haven't seen a lot of Death Rattle Rogue, but Blizzard's definitely pushing in the Death Rattle Rogue kind of archetype with the whole Raptor Rogue, and of course this card right here, and also some of the cards that they have released thus far in the expansion. So definitely interesting. The fact that it only costs 1 mana is, I think, the best part about this card. It acts as a combo activator, and you have the choice between 3 Death Rattles. So solid. It's like what is it called? The Priest card, where it says discover a Death Rattle, and it's a 2-drop 1/2. So basically you're skipping out on the 1/2 creature for 1 mana and just playing the spell. So this also combos well with Yogg. All right, 4-drop, 4/4 South Sea Squid Face. Good stuff. What?
Davy Jones.
Yeah, Davy Jones, pretty much. They can't hear you, Tony, because once again, you're not in the video. Anyway, Death Rattle, give your weapon +2 attack. He's a pirate, so basically your Death Rattle is a deadly poison. He synergizes well with pirates. He's not as good as this next pirate we're going to get to, in my opinion. But I like how they're adding pirates and making them kind of more relevant. There was no really solid 4-drop pirate besides Dread Corsair, but if you're playing that for 4 mana, you're probably not doing too hot in a game, as he's discounted based on your weapon's attack. So I think this guy is a pretty solid replacement, or not replacement, but a good addition to the Pirates. So this is, oh, we're not there yet. Next card. But anyway, Shadow Strike, 3 mana, deal 5 damage to an undamaged character. So basically, it's a backstab on roids. Decent. Keep in mind that undamaged character, you can use this, I believe, on somebody's face. If they're at 30 HP, you can deal 5 damage to their face. Most of the time, depending on what you use it on, I mean, turn 3, I don't know what kind of turn 3, 5 HP creature your opponents are playing, but you know, if they happen to play a decent creature, you're able to take this out with no problem. And yeah, I think it's a good addition to the Rogue 3-drop. At the time, right now, they don't have any 3-drop removal besides maybe Fan of Knives. And as we know, that only does 1 damage, is a field clear, not so much a single target removal. Eviscerate is a 2-drop, but again, that needs to be comboed, as this card does not need to be comboed and can actually hit their face, which is pretty cool. Oh, I guess it's the warrior pirate I'm thinking of. Yeah, it's actually not a rogue pirate. So this is where we're going to leave off here, is at Shadow Strike. We'll pick up on the shaman next. We actually got a look at what card we're going to be reviewing first in the next little episode we're going to be doing. So as always, guys, always glad to have you here at the end. If I happen to miss anything, or if you'd like to add on to any of the cards that I've went over, feel free to. Hopefully I can get Tony to join me in this next episode, but he's giving me a mean mug and glare right now, so I don't know if he'll actually join me. But either way, as always, guys, I'm Warshak. That's Marshall. Hey, Marshall, look up here. That's my boy. And there's Tony. And happy whatever the hell day it is.